All right, y'all. So this is 5A. And 5A deals with the fundamentals of statistics. So today we'll learn about statistics, today's class and the next one. And then I believe next week when we start 5C, we'll actually start working with statistics. So to start this out, we got two definitions of statistics. All right, so the first one for statistics, when you're looking at statistics as a science, so statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, and interpreting data. Okay, so you get your data, go through it, organize it, and then you start interpreting it. All right, let me get one in here real quick. There's Sean, so it's got Sean. All right, another definition of statistics. And this one's when you're using the actual statistics to interpret the data. So statistics are data that describe or summarize something. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a few definitions, and then we'll look at a statistical study. So some definitions you need to know. Population. So populations in a statistical study is the complete set of people or things being studied. So if we was looking at the United States as the number of people that might be Republican versus Democrat, our population is going to be the entire population of the United States. But it might be hard to survey everybody in the United States. So we use what we call a sample. And a sample is a subset of the population from which the raw data are actually obtained. So like I said, the population would be the entire United States, but it might be hard to try to survey everybody in the United States. So we might do samples where they might call people. They might send out mail for y'all to answer a survey, which would be what we consider the sample of the population, okay? All right, next we got population parameters. And y'all, those are specific numbers. Describing the characteristics of the population. And then we got sample statistics. So these are numbers describing the characteristics of the sample found by consolidating or summarizing the raw data collected from the sample. So I might be looking for averages. So the averages would be a type of sample statistic because it tells me where they're more likely to lie. Okay, so we'll look at mean, median, and mode and all them fun things in the future. All right, y'all, so I'm gonna turn the page if y'all are ready. And we're gonna look at the basic steps in a statistical study. So y'all ready? All right, so basic steps in a statistical study. So we got 5 steps you want to follow. First thing, state the goal of your study. So what made you want to do the study and what is your outcome you're looking for, okay? So state the goal of the study. Next, you're going to choose a representative sample from the population. So if I was looking at females that might have had, what's it called, postpartum depression after they had a baby, my representative sample needs to be females that have actually had children. It's no good to find men in this study, and it wouldn't be very beneficial if I had females that had not had children yet. So you want to find something that represents your sample from your population you're looking at. So next, you're going to collect raw data from the sample. And summarize these data. By finding sample statistics of interest. By finding sample statistics of interest. So is the mean what I predicted it would be? Is the mode is how many times the data occurs. So would the mode tell me something how they're leaning? Okay. So then you want to use the sample statistics to infer the population parameters. And you've seen them do this on a when you're voting for presidents and stuff, they always have these polls out where they sample 5,000, 10,000 people, and they look and see where the votes are leaning. So then they predict the overall population based on that small sample. So that's what they're talking about when they want you to infer the overall population parameters. And then 5, draw those conclusions. Okay. So y'all, today's just going to be a lot of writing and a lot of definitions. So here's another definition. Representative sample. So that's a sample in which the relative characteristics of the sample members are generally the same as those of the population. So they represent that population because they have this similar characteristics and follow the same trends. So let's look at 4 types of sampling methods, and these are the most common types. So these are what we call common sampling methods. And there's many, but we're going to focus on 4 of them in here. First one, simple random sampling. And that just means that every sample of the same size has an equal chance of being selected. So they could be using a phone book, going through the phone book, picking numbers, sending surveys in the mail. right? Everybody gets a survey. So doing things like that, they're just randomly sampling the population. Systematic sampling. In this case, you use a system to select the sample. Such as selecting every 10th or every 50th member of the population. So say I was going into a big neighborhood and I knew I couldn't go to every single house. So I might make a system where I go to every third house to eliminate some of the size of that, okay? So I go to every third house and try to get samples from them. Or you can go by social security numbers, right? Every social security number that ends in a 1, I'm going to choose for this sample, or everyone that has a 2 at the end. So different ways they can use systematic sampling. Convenience sampling. So this is when you pick a sample that is convenient to select. Such as people in the same classroom. Okay, it was convenient. They were all in the class. So I sampled them and got on with it, okay? Now 4 is the tricky one. This is called stratified sampling. And we use this method when we're concerned about differences among the subgroups or the strata of a population. So we use this method when we are concerned about differences among the subgroups or strata. So the strata are the actual subgroups, and this is within a population. Okay, so in that method, you would identify the subgroups and choose a simple random sample within each subgroup. The total sample consists of all the samples from all the individual subgroups. All right, y'all, moving on to the next definition. Bias. Bias is when a statistical study has a design or conduct tends to favor certain results. So this is when a statistical study tends to favor certain results. Okay, and you'll learn later when I start talking about blinds and double blinds, where you might see some of this bias, okay? You could be biased also if I was looking at, oh, say the abortion. Who's in favor of abortion versus who's not in favor of abortion? Well, it would be really, really biased if all I polled were men, or if all I polled were females, right? So you want to have a good mixture so you don't have any bias. All right, two types of a statistical study. First one, observational. In an observational study, researchers observe or measure, so they observe or measure characteristics of the sample but do not attempt to influence or modify those characteristics. So basically, they're just watching you. They're not there to try to make you go this way versus that way, trying to influence you or modifying anything. They're just sitting there watching you. What's happening? Now, the second one, though, is an experiment. In this method, researchers apply a treatment to some or all of the sample members and then observe the effects of the treatment. Right, we got a lot of experiments going on right now with this COVID. They had to apply their treatments, and then they had to go through and see what was going to happen to the sample members, and they had to observe the effects of that treatment. Okay. So that's the main difference. Observational, they're just watching you. Experimental, they're trying to apply treatments and influence the way these outcomes are brought about, okay? So more about the experiments. We have what we call treatment groups and control groups. So let's look at a treatment group. They're the group of members who receive the treatment. So it's a group of members who receive the treatment. And then we said we had the control group. They do not receive the treatment. That is being tested. So the thing about this, the control group and the treatment groups must be selected randomly, and they got to be alike except for the treatment, okay? They got to look just the same type of people, but the only difference is this group's going to get tested, this group's going to get nothing. So y'all, what do they do to the ones that are in the control group? So the ones in the control group get what we call a placebo. Y'all have heard that before, right? In a placebo does not have the active ingredients of the treatment. So when they studied COVID, they probably had people taking those Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson shots, and they probably had a lot of people taking what they call saline water shots, shots that would have no effect on them whatsoever. And if you don't know which one you're getting, then that helps the scientists or the researchers figure out if their treatment is actually working or not, okay? Now you can get what we call a placebo effect. And that just means that patients seem to think they're improving because they think they're getting the medicine. So they think they are receiving the actual treatment. Okay, so you got to watch out for that. Some are fooled into thinking they're getting the medicine when they're not. And they think, oh, I'm feeling so much better. But it's just because they think that way, okay? So to help us out, we do what we call blinding. And that's just the practice of keeping people in the dark about who is receiving the treatment. Okay, because you don't want them to know, hey, you're getting the medicine, you're not. We need them to not know who's getting the medicine so we can be more effective on this research. So an experiment can have two types of blinding. We can have single blinding. Single blind is when the participants don't know who's got the placebo. or who receives the treatment. Okay, so the experimenters will know, but the people actually participating in the survey don't know, or the experiment, they don't know who's getting the placebo, who's getting the actual treatment. Now, to be effective, we need what we call a double blind. Because y'all, in a single blind, if the experimenter knows who's getting the placebos versus who's getting the treatment, they might be biased, okay? And say, hey, my stuff is working, and they might be interpreting that data in a way that makes it favorable for them. But if it's a double blind, neither the participants nor the experimenters know who belongs to what group. So you want those to be double blind on, especially on that COVID stuff, because you don't want Johnson & Johnson's experimenters knowing who's getting what, because then they're going to say, oh, look at this, my shot is way more effective because it's treating everybody in my group. Okay, so you don't want experimenters to know all the time who's getting what. Oh, y'all, just a couple more pages of notes, and then I'll show you some of these problems we're going to have. All righty, so next, a retrospective study. And really, that's an observational study that uses data from the past. Such as official records, or even past interviews. Like if I wanted to see over the years how fast are races being run in the Olympics, to see if they're getting faster or slower, I'm going to have to go into the past and look at several years worth of Olympic races in order for me to determine if they're getting faster or slower in the present. All right, margin of error. And we use this to describe, so it describes a confidence interval that is likely to contain the true population parameter. So you've seen them when they do these polls on TV, they'll say margin of error plus or minus 5%. So that means they're fairly accurate, that they're close to it, but it could lean either way by that 5%. So what we do is we make what we call a confidence interval. So they go from the sample statistic minus the margin of error to the sample statistic plus the margin of error. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of the support homework to sort of show you some of this confidence intervals, okay? So, whoa, y'all, that was the notes for this. So I'm going to just show you what kind of problems you're going to see on this homework. So do y'all have any questions on this yet? All right, so here we go. This is going to be support homework for 5A. There's only 3 of these on this one. Let me move my camera up just a little bit right there. All right. So I'll read this, and this is a confidence type interval question. The following summary of a statistical study gives a sample statistic and a margin of error. Find the confidence interval and answer any additional questions. So they're telling me a poll is conducted the day before a state election for senator. There are only 2 candidates running for the office. The poll results show that 55% of the voters favor the Republican. So 55% favor the Republican. With a margin of error of 2%. So we're going to make a confidence interval, and then their question is, should the Republican expect to win? Why or why not? So let's make our confidence interval. So the confidence interval is from blank percent to blank percent. So remember, we just said on the last section, the confidence interval, the first number is going to be the 55 minus the margin of error. So that would be 55 minus 2, which would give me what? 53. So I'm going to show you how I got that. I got that because I had 55 minus 2%. 2, well, the upper end of the confidence interval equals the statistic plus the margin of error. So then you would do 55 plus 2, which would give me 57%. So that one I did 55 plus 2. So that's how we get our confidence interval. So 55% favor the Republican over the Democrat. Our confidence interval is from 53 to 57%. So the question is, should the Republican expect to win? Why or why not? So I said definitely yes for the Republican, because look, our smallest interval was from 53 to 57. Well, you only need 50% to win the race, right? So if our lowest percent is 53, then definitely we expect to win that race. So we can say both endpoints of the confidence interval are greater than 50%. Right, so that's what they're looking at. When they do these polls, that's how they're pretty accurate, because they know what their margin of errors are. And if they can get what percent is in favor either way, they can add that margin of error and get a really good confidence interval going, okay? All right, so the second one is another confidence interval.
Mr. Eugene,
Yeah,
this is Miss Coleman. My phone, for some reason, wasn't letting my Zoom connect.
say again.
This is Mrs. Coleman. I'm here.
Okay. Okay, so I'm recording this, so you'll be able to get everything.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, so the second one in support says a national survey of 1,517 respondents reached on landlines and cell phones found that the percentage of adults who favor legalized abortion, so these ones favor legalized abortion, has dropped from 52% a year ago to 45%. So this has dropped from 52% to 45%. The study claimed that the error attributed to sampling is plus or minus 4 percentage points. So plus or minus 4 percentage points. Would you claim that a majority of people are not in favor of legalized abortions? So they're saying that in their research, they found that the ones who favored legalized abortion went from 52 to 45. So we're going to find our confidence interval. Once we get our confidence interval, then we can sort of answer these questions. So we're focusing on 45 because that's the current statistic that we're looking at. So our confidence interval is going to go from blank percent to blank percent. So we got 45 plus or minus 4 percentage points. So from will be 45 minus the 4. So 45 minus 4 would give us 41%. Over here, we take the 45 and add the 4. So 45 plus 4 would be what? 49%. So you're just taking your statistics, subtracting that. So our confidence interval is from 41 to 49%. That means that the ones that favor legalized abortion is definitely going to fall between that 41 and 49%. So their question was, would you claim that a majority of people are not in favor of legalized abortion? So remember, if this is the ones that in favor of it, well, only 41% on the low end favored it versus 49% on the high end favoring it. So we're going to have to say yes on that. More are going to be against it because only 49% maximum are going to be for it. So that gives me at least 51% on my low side that do not favor. So we would say yes, majority not in favor. Since the interval for those in favor is below 50%. Okay, so now you'll have to do these confidence intervals on the actual 5A homework. But they're the same way, and I just wanted y'all to see how to actually make these confidence intervals, okay? So I'm going to do one more question out of support. So determine whether the following study is an observational study or an experiment. If the study is an experiment, identify the control and treatment groups and discuss whether single or double blinding is necessary. If the study is observational, state whether it is a case control study, and if so, identify the cases and controls. So here we go. In a study of the effects of magnets on back pain, some participants were treated with magnets, while others were given non-magnetic objects with a similar appearance. The magnets did not appear to be effective in treating back pain. So since they're treating something and they're trying to modify this treatment, this is definitely an experiment. Remember, observation, they're just going to watch you. They're not going to try to do anything but watch. So since it's an experiment, they wanted me to figure out what's the treatment group and the control group. Well, the treatment group is the patients that use the magnets, right? They're the ones you're trying to figure out if this magnet's going to work. So they're the ones use magnets. So this is the participants using the magnets. Oh, hold on. Okay, I went back. Treatment group is all the participants. So it's the participants using the magnets and the fake magnets. So I'm sorry about that. The treatment group is everybody. Participants using the magnets and the fake magnets. The control group would be the ones that got the fake magnets. Okay, so your treatment group's got to be everybody. Those with the magnets, those without. But our control group, like we said, are going to be the ones that had the fake magnets. So single blind or double blind, since you're looking whether these magnets work, the experimenters could have a little bias if it's a treatment they came up with. So in something like this, you want this to be a double blind. You don't want the researchers to know who got what because they can have a little bias on that, okay? And that's why we use the blinds so that these are more ethical. All right, so I'm trying to see if there's any in the main homework that I want to do. So I might do some of these just talking about the different types of sampling. Do a few questions on that. And then that way y'all can do this homework. So let me find where I'm at. All righty, so let me see what I had here. What type of sampling is used? So I'm just going to go through a few on the actual 5A homework. A famous magazine chooses its most talented athletes by compiling responses from readers who mail in a survey printed in the magazine. So this is the magazine survey. So I had 4 types. A magazine survey would be what we call convenience sampling. Okay, and they just, whoever responds, who don't. But it's a convenient way of sampling. Okay. So to determine her blood sugar level, Samantha divides her day into 3 parts: morning, afternoon, and evening. She then measures her blood sugar level at 3 randomly selected times during the day. So she divides her day up. Into 3 parts and samples during each part. So remember, when you're breaking it down into subparts or what we call strata, this is the one that's called stratified sampling. So if they talk about any type of splitting things up, making different groups, you know they're talking about the stratified, okay? All right, y'all, the next one. A college dean obtains an alphabetical list of all full-time students at a college, and she selects every 34th name on that list and surveys those students to find the amount of financial aid received by each of them. She uses the results to estimate the average mean amount of financial aid received by college students in the United States. What type of sampling is used on that? So remember, we went through one and it said if you picked every 10th person or every 50th person, that is what we called systematic. So the dean picks every 34th student on the list and samples them. So that is systematic sampling. All right, here's another one. A computer randomly selects 800 names from a list of all registered voters. Those selected are surveyed to predict who will win the election for mayor. So computer randomly selects 800 names from a list. So that would be the last one, which is called simple random sampling. So hopefully the computer's not biased, right? Okay, so that's the 5A for you. So they'll ask you for a few of the definitions like I went over today in the 5A, and they'll do the confidence intervals like we did on the support work. And they'll play with these different types of sampling. So remember, it's convenient if you use a magazine survey. It's convenient if you stand in front of a grocery store and ask everybody that comes in if they're Republican or Democrat or whatever. Anything that's convenient. I could yell out my window, hey, how are you voting? That'd be convenience. Okay. If it's divided or broken up, then you're looking at stratified. Right? I might break up groups between men and women. I might break up groups between ages, times of the day, and certain things like that. Systematic is when you got a system you're going through. I'm going to pick every 5th person and interview them, every 10th person and interview them. I'm going to interview everybody with a social security that ends with a 1 or a 2, but I've got some kind of system I'm using. I might knock on every 3rd door going through a neighborhood, okay? And then random, you can use a phone book, randomly go through, pick names out of a phone book, use a computer to randomly select those names, draw names out of a hat, you're randomly picking and everybody's got a chance. So the trick on these is that every member of the population has to have a chance to be a possible statistic in your sample, okay? Okay, y'all, so the last thing I'll talk about is your project. So hopefully by today you've done your part A and you know what kind of car you're going to buy, how much did it cost, and so you should have filled out this part A on that, your year, make, model, the color, and all that fun stuff, your MSRP. Because this week what you need to focus on is part B. Part B is going to go over financing that car. So you're going to go to this website right here, waldenhub.com. And then it's going to let you search the website. So go to loans, then to auto loans. Then you're going to choose new or used based on what car you bought. Was it a used car or a new car? At that point, you're going to enter the cost of your car, the amount of your down payment. This if you choose to make one. Remember, you're doing this as a project. So if you want to put down 3,000, 4,000, put down 3,000 or 4,000 and see what that loan is going to do for you, okay? Choose the excellent credit. No matter what, just choose excellent credit. And for the loan duration, we want you to use 36, 48, or 60 months, okay? And then you can choose the banks, credit unions, or both. So that's going to give you information on your financing. And it should look like this page I'm showing you. So here it talks about the car loans. This is doing a 0% down payment, getting a $16,000 loan. And we said my credit was excellent. So it pulled up 3 types of loans based on the terms. So let me see, this is a 60 month, was going to cost me $296 at 4.13%. 48 month loan is going to be a little higher because it's a shorter loan, $362 a month at 4.13. Then if I wanted to do 36 months, it's going to cost me $473 a month at 4.13. So my APR was pretty much the same on all those. So out of these three, I got to figure out which one am I the most comfortable paying. So the best thing, if you can pay the higher amounts, the best thing would be the shortest loans. But if you're not able to pay almost $500 a month, then you might want to go to the $296 a month loan for 60 months. So that's going to be the difference, is the shorter loans are going to be a little higher than the longer ones, okay? And then this was just continuing it. And then it was showing me a US Bank for the 36 month loan was going to be 470 at 4.5. So that's a little higher than I cared for on the interest. So I'd probably went with my Wells Fargo. So what you'll see several lenders. Find the lowest APR. So you want to find the lowest APR and record the name of the lender, the APR, and the monthly payment, and the loan duration of each. So you'll use that information to fill out this Part B. So let me show you where you're at right here. So Part B of this project is going to be filling out this page with your loan information. So look at the 36, 48, and 60 months. Who had the lowest APR and what was the lender? Then come down here for 36 months, your MSRP, your percentage rate, how much was the monthly payment, and how much will you pay in the long run for that car. So if your payments are $250 a month, multiply that by 36 and see what you're paying total, okay? Do that for the 48 and the 60. After that, we'll get into Part C next week. So for this week, I just want y'all to do your loan and your financing for that car. So do y'all have questions on that? And y'all, what I'll do, if you do any of this before Thursday, I'll help you out Thursday if you got any questions on doing that part of this, okay? Now remember, if you don't have that car picked out yet, you need to get that picked out quick, because we'll only have this week and next week to do this project, okay? Oh, any questions, y'all? Someone quit stop my share. Oh, I'm not seeing no chats. So y'all must be good to go, huh? All right, so this section is not bad. It's just a lot of definitions, and then the main math, we're just doing that confidence interval. So do that, play with your little car project, and I'll take it up Thursday to see what issues y'all have, okay? I'm going to stop this recording.